This is Nick News with Linda Ellerbee. Worried sick, living with anxiety. Now from New York, here is Linda Ellerbee.
Anxiety is an uncomfortable feeling of fear and concern. We all feel anxious sometimes, but what if you worry constantly? You may worry about growing up, be afraid of social situations, have a fear of heights or spiders or flying, get panic attacks, or even get physically sick. In an ever more complicated world, more and more kids are feeling more and more anxious. Yet anxiety disorders among kids are often not taken seriously, even though they can lead to overeating, smoking, depression, or drug use. Here, we take you seriously. This show is about the frightening world of anxiety and the way out of it.
I was a very anxious kid growing up. When I was maybe 12, I started getting really severe panic attacks. And then I went to high school. I wouldn't talk in school. I would wear hoodies. I would never take off my coat. I used to get mocked and bullied in school when I would shake, raising my hand. And it was really bad for me because I wanted to tell them that I couldn't control it. I just felt really scared because I didn't know what was going on. My name is Juliana, and I'm from New York City.
Mostly my whole life I've been worrying. My name is Tobias. I live in Louisville, Kentucky. I just can't help myself from worrying. My mom, if she's supposed to be home and she's not there, then that's when I worry. I call her and I say, "Are you okay? When are you gonna be home?"
In the instant that someone isn't where they're supposed to be, he automatically goes to the worst case scenario.
I'm Rochelle, and I'm Tobias' mom.
When I get worried, I just pace around like, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on? It feels scary.
It gets to the point that he gets so stressed and worked up till it starts to make him tired.
She keep telling me everything will be okay. It's gonna work out. Stop stressing about it. You're a kid. And I'm be like, I tell her, you don't understand what's going on. You don't understand what's going on in my head.
I don't like to see him worry. Don't like to see him worry and stress at all. Because I feel like as a kid, you shouldn't have cares in the world. Life should just be fun.
Hold it together.
I don't want to stress about it. I don't know how to stop it.
It all started when I was in 6th grade, and I got sick and threw up for 9 hours every 15 minutes. And it was really traumatic for me because I don't get sick very easily, and I wouldn't stop, and I had to sleep on the bathroom floor. My name is Claire, and I live in San Clemente, California. After I got sick, 24/7, I would always be afraid of throwing up, so I could never really relax at all.
She was never the same person after that. She seemed sad and really quiet all of a sudden. She acted scared all the time. My name is Louise, and I am Claire's twin sister. I felt like I lost my best friend because we've had a really close bond since we were little, and then she wouldn't even talk to me that much. It was really confusing.
In January 2012, I was in my chemistry class, and just out of the blue I had a panic attack, rapid heartbeat, stuff like that. I mistook it for some sort of heart problem. My entire body was numb, which is kind of frightening. And then the next day I was fine. My name is Dan, and I live in Chicago, Illinois. A couple months passed, and then here comes a second panic attack out of the blue, and I felt like I was gonna die. This time, the numbness was kind of overpowering, and your heart is gonna almost beat out of your chest. After the second panic attack, I was having them about once every week. And on top of that, I was just generally anxious because I was fearing that next panic attack. I started to be in this cloudy state for days on end. I stopped sleeping, I couldn't eat. I started to get like terrible migraines. I just couldn't get the thought of my anxiety and my panic and all the stuff that was going on to me out of my head. I felt like I was going insane.
I have OCD. It stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. OCD is a type of anxiety. It's like a nightmare playing over and over again in your head. In my mind, and what OCD was telling me was that if I did compulsions and rituals, I wouldn't get sick. A ritual is a behavior that in your mind when you have OCD, you have to do to prevent something from happening. Once you get a few rituals, it just kind of explodes and everything turns into a ritual. Most people who have OCD have numbers, and they're good and bad numbers. And bad numbers are like deathly to people with OCD. Like if you do something to a bad number, then it's like the end of the world. And good numbers are numbers that you feel are safe. In my bathroom, I would have to pick like up to 25 or 50 tiny little pieces of toilet paper before I could actually use the toilet paper. I would have to tap the flusher to one of my good numbers, squirt soap onto my hands for one of my good numbers, turn the faucet off and then tap it to a good number. Go like this to a good number and touch the towel to another good number. Sock on and off over my heel to a good number.
She just wanted to be normal, but she couldn't because OCD took over her life.
I had to stop going to school because of how many rituals I had to do. I was pretty much paralyzed.
I didn't know who she was anymore. She never laughed or played or had fun. To escape her ritual, she just sat on the couch and watched TV.
I was diagnosed with depression and social anxiety. Social anxiety is where you can't stand people watching you, where you're scared of talking, scared of doing anything to put you in the spotlight. You're scared of people judging what you say, what you do, every little thing. I loved learning, but my anxiety was kind of unbearable. Like, I wouldn't leave the house to go to school.
Sometimes my throat would kind of swell up. I'd just be like breathing a little bit faster. All of my joints just got really tense. I also feel like more anxiety came out of me trying to hide that I was anxious. I didn't want anyone to think of me like different than anyone else. I wanted to just be normal. I'm Owen and I live in Bellingham, Washington. I feel like really strongly about getting everything perfect. Like if it's a test, I need to get 100% on it. If it's a paper, it needs to be like a perfect A. Things just kind of started snowballing. The easiest thing for me to do would be to just not go to school. Every day I missed, it would be more and more work for me to make up. It just became too much to deal with. I think trying to escape the anxious feelings is really what it was all about. I probably missed 5 or 6 months. When I was home from school, I would pretty much limit myself to just staying in my bed until about 2:15, which is when school would get out. I'd feel like I'm supposed to be at school, so I shouldn't be like playing video games or whatever. I'd just be thinking, this is like half a year of my life and is it gonna screw me over going to college?
I think anxiety is how your body's reacting to stress. And for some people, that stress tips them over into feeling worried in an overwhelming way. It paralyzes you.
Owen?
My name is Dr. Leslie Walker. I am an adolescent medicine specialist at Seattle Children's Hospital, and Owen is my patient.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good, how are you?
Good, good.
You don't have to have gone through a terrible event in order to have anxiety. It just can happen to people because of their family history, because of how their body is reacting to a particular stress that they perceive. And no matter how people come to it, one of the things that's most important is helping kids figure out that it can be different and it can be better.
When I went to Dr. Walker, she prescribed me with some medication. I think that it definitely did help me.
Kids that are dealing with anxiety and it's affecting their personal life, their home life, their school life, need some help to get out of that. And many times medication is one of those first steps. Some kids will have therapy and they will begin to have some skills to deal with these feelings when they have them, and they'll be able to get off medication.
I first met Claire in March 2013. She was literally in a prison of fear. My name is Dr. Jenny Yip. I'm a licensed psychologist and I treat kids with severe OCD and anxiety disorders.
Hey, Claire.
Hi.
Anxiety is necessary, especially for your survival in the face of real danger. It becomes an anxiety disorder when you falsely believe that the harmless situation is threatening when it actually isn't.
The way to get rid of your OCD is to actually face your fears. I didn't know that before I went to treatment, and I would try and avoid all my fears and try and not think about them. But when you try to not think about something, it makes you think about it more. They made me do little by little, harder and harder exposures. My last exposure was putting my hand in a bowl of vomit. I finally got in the room with it, and I just kind of held my hand, hovered over the bowl for like half an hour until I actually dipped it in it. And I had to leave it on my fingers for 30 minutes.
I can't even imagine having to go through what she went through because it was so hard for her, and I'm really proud of her.
I believe the medication helped with the panic attacks, but I still experience obsessive thinking from time to time.
Tell me a little bit about what the thoughts are that you would have if you were reading in front of a class right now or otherwise doing some public speaking.
People could see that I'm noticeably anxious. Maybe I'd stutter or I'd stumble on an easy word.
Dan's highest levels of fear is when he's reading in class amongst his peers. Dan fears that people would judge him in a very severe way. My name is Mark Pfeffer. I'm the director of the Panic Anxiety Recovery Center in Chicago. One of the exposures I do with Dan is to have Dan actually practice reading on stage in a microphone. So what I thought we'd do is start off in reading the poem Attitude. I thought I'd have you read the poem, but I want you to make the paper shake. Also, I want you to make eye contact with me in the audience. And I want you to do this with good volume and enthusiasm.
The longer I live, there wasn't an audience, but having a microphone and having a spotlight on me, it made me feel like I was really getting that sort of anxiety that I would actually get in a real life situation. The idea of the therapy is to feel the anxiety and learn that it's not going to kill you, and then over time, the anxiety will subside.
I started feeling that things needed to change because I want to have a life for myself. I went online and found Mountain Valley Treatment Center in Pike, New Hampshire.
Children who come to Mountain Valley, their anxiety has really reached a level where their social life has been impacted, their school life has been impacted. They're often missing school or have actually dropped out of school altogether. So they really need to go off to a residential program to get intensive treatment. My name is Dr. Dan Villiers. I'm the founder and the director of admissions at the Mountain Valley Treatment Center. Kids come here for 30 to 90 days. Juliana has been at Mountain Valley for a month now.
There are 15 people, and you feel like you're always with people who know what you're going through.
They've gone from a very kind of isolated life, a lot of our kids. So I would say the majority of activities that they do are about building a sense of community and self-esteem. Because really I think anxiety is the opposite of confidence.
One of the activities we do is farm to table. And the idea is that it's very calming, but it's also productive. It is about building confidence in yourself and what you're doing and showing that you can have an impact and you can do stuff even though you have anxiety. You have therapy every day, you have group therapy every day.
When we get anxious, the first sign to us is what we feel in our body, right? Physical symptoms.
In therapy today, I did something called imaginary exposure, which is where you imagine a really anxiety-provoking situation. The situation was the first day of school, coming back after having missed a month.
Where are we starting on the anxiety scale of 0 to 10?
8 or 9.
Okay.
First day of school is kind of...
Anxiety is a learned response, and therefore it can be unlearned. And it sounds weird that you're creating anxiety, but it's a proven scientific strategy to work.
I can hear my alarm going off in the morning. It's this really annoying sound. I'll see people outside of school. I'm scared that they're gonna look at me and judge me. I just feel like a tiny, insignificant little ant. You just wanna disappear. You just sit with the anxiety and let it wash over you.
And if she can sit with that anxiety level, the more she can do that, her anxiety will gradually decrease.
Every time I do an exposure, I'm always surprised by how the anxiety actually goes down. Because you can feel it. I feel it like in my chest. It just drops.
When I play football, my worries go away because it's not just on my mind. I'm thinking about what's going on in the game.
When kids don't understand or they don't have the tools necessary to control their anxiety, it is extremely difficult to control. Many kids try to do so through distraction. I'm gonna try to get busy, I'm gonna try to do something else, something worth my while. And that only works for a short amount of time because what happens is the anxiety or the worry always comes back. My name is Kevin Chapman, and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist that specializes in anxiety disorders. I recently met with Tobias to do an assessment to determine what kind of anxiety he had and to determine how severe it was. The worry that Tobias has we would call generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD. It's essentially the worry disorder. It's like a light switch. Many of us who worry can control the worry by turning the worry off and on. But Tobias, he has a difficult time doing that.
When I met Dr. Chapman, it made me feel a little better because I thought nobody would understand what was going on. Talking to him makes me feel like I'm not the only person with it. I'm not the only kid that worries about some things.
As a parent, it's been really hard not knowing how to make it better for him. But I've came to realize that for him to have a better quality of life, he has to have some help, has to have.
The interesting thing about that is that anxiety is very treatable. It doesn't take a great deal of time to treat anxiety. It takes a great deal of commitment and motivation. And what happens over time is that the kid knows enough about their own condition that they can actually use the tools for the rest of their lives to be able to combat symptoms of anxiety.
At first, what was really confusing for me is like, why did I end up with this? But I think that Dr. Walker really helped me figure out that it's like not my fault. And I think that knowing that it's not up to me, it's not my fault, is a pretty significant thing. It takes the weight of that off of me. This year, I'm not gonna try as much to avoid like questions. If everybody just knew that I'm struggling with anxiety, then it would be one less thing for me to worry about. I'm pretty stoked to get another chance to beat it.
When I do get the anxious feelings, I say, you know, this is just my body's reaction to a fear that's completely irrational, and I'm accepting this, and I'm not gonna fight it. My goal is to be medication-free, and doing that is gonna be a major step in my recovery, and pretty soon I'm gonna have the tools to do this on my own. You know, it's just a matter of how much effort you wanna put in to work at it.
At a certain point during treatment, I ended up not having to do all my rituals anymore, and even getting rid of one ritual was like a huge relief for me. Now I just do everything like a normal person would do. No one can ever be completely free of OCD once they have it, but I am pretty much as free as you can get because I know how to control it and not let it take over my life again.
Facing your worst fears is terrifying, but you learn that anxiety usually isn't as big a deal as what you think it is. I want to go back to school. I felt that I was beyond help, that I would never get better. Now, I think I can get better. I know I can get better.
If you suffer from an anxiety disorder, at least now you know you're not alone and that kids can learn to manage anxiety. They do learn. And watching that inspires the rest of us because in what almost seems to be an age of anxiety, we all, in one way or another, at some time or another, find blocks between us and the best version of ourselves. You are showing us how to climb those blocks. A salute to your bravery. I'm Linda Ellerbee. Goodbye for Nick News. For more information about this topic, go to nicknews.com.